This is Jason with Chicago News. This week we're reviewing the 2017 Nissan Murano. This is the Platinum Midnight Edition. The design of this Nissan Murano is pretty intense. It's really kind of a unique looking car for its class. And a lot of them look the same. This one definitely strives to be different. While overall we think this is a great looking design, with most Nissans these days around the rear, things kind of come off the rails for us a little bit. This D-pillar design is a little bit outlandish compared to the rest of the design of this car, but this is the direction Nissan's gone with the rear. Some people love it, some people hate it. Some really aggressive styling in the front, and along the side you get these really taut middle belt lines here where the car looks a lot more athletic than a lot of the competitors. So now that we're inside this 2017 Murano, let's see if the interior lives up to the unique exterior. It's got pretty bold design on the outside, but here on the inside, things are a little bit more conventional. They've used a lot of soft touch materials in the door panels, the dashboard. There's some nice contrasting stitching here on the doors. We're really kind of questioning this choice of this silver aluminum designed plastic. You know, if it were just a silver plastic instead of a faux aluminum look, I think we'd like it a little bit better. Or if you want the aluminum look, go for actual aluminum like some of the cars do. But overall, again, it's a pretty interesting design in here, decent materials, and the other great thing is these seats are extremely comfortable. Nissan calls them zero gravity seats. The 8-inch touchscreen is really easy to use. You've got lots of different options for apps you can add to this. It's connected through both Sirius and a cellular connection, so you get lots of connectivity. There's also lots of ports on the inside here for you to plug your devices in, so plenty of technology and connectivity here. I will say though that like a lot of cars, there's lots of different controls in different areas, and I think one of the biggest issues I have is where the volume is on the steering wheel. Right where your thumb sits when you're driving normally is actually the channel switching button instead of the volume button, which you have to actually remove your hand from the wheel and kind of reposition it to get to the volume level. So I wish that was a little bit more convenient, but overall the controls are very simple and easy to use here. Great feature for a car at this price point is this 360 view camera. You've got a camera in the front, in the rear, and each side, and it gives you a really good view. You can actually see on your blind spot on the side here if you want to. So overall, this is a great feature to have, especially at this price point. The Murano uses Nissan's 3.5 liter V6, 260 horsepower in this application, and even though this engine's been around for a while, it's still a great option. And again, with lots of companies going to smaller displacement, 4-cylinder turbo engines, it's kind of nice to have the V6. It's a little bit smoother, it's a little bit more interesting to drive. However, I will say the continuously variable transmission, even though in the last Nissan we tested, the Altima, the CVT worked really well. Because this is a heavier vehicle, we find it a little bit lacking in driving feel here. It still feels a bit elastic, which means as you're cruising along at a constant speed, when you want to then go to accelerate, you put your foot down, it takes a second for the gear to catch up with you. It feels like something's a little bit missing. It definitely doesn't feel as connected. Now, this does have a manual mode. There's no steering wheel mounted paddles, but you can use the center stick here to change gear, which again, this isn't really designed for, you know, driving fun as much as it is for utility. However, it's nice to have the option. One of the byproducts of the wild exterior design is some lack of visibility. You have a really high hood line here, and then there's also wide pillars both front and rear, and what that means is that you just get reduced visibility. Now, this model has forward collision alert, emergency braking, blind spot monitors, some things to help you with that visibility, but there's really no substitute for just being able to see what's around you, so we wish there was a little bit better visibility. It's one of those trade-offs you get for a great design on the outside. Also, compared to some of the other vehicles in this class, there doesn't seem to be quite as much in the way of interior space, especially for a taller driver like me. I've got this seat all the way back and as low as I can get it, and there still feels like it could be a little bit more leg room, a little bit more headroom here as well. As far as handling and driving dynamics go, there's nothing to complain about here, but there's also not necessarily anything to write home about. This model has 20-inch wheels, and you know, lower profile tires, so it does still feel pretty direct in steering, and it's got decent handling. I wish the steering ratio were a little bit quicker, but again, I keep reminding myself this is a utility vehicle, not necessarily a sport vehicle. As far as interior space goes, the trade-off with having maybe not as much front leg room is that there's a ton of rear seat leg room, which again, this is a vehicle to pile lots of people into, so it's really good at that. So overall, what do we think about this 2017 Murano? Well, not much has changed since it was released in 2015, but it still gives you a really unique exterior appearance to set you apart from the crowd. Really some great value, starting at $30,000, and with this model ending up in the mid-40s, you can really get a lot for your dollar. Overall, this is one to check out.